A survivalist gathering in Denver. A report at 10.
Good evening, I'm Hugh Downs.
And I'm Barbara Walters. And this is 2020.
From ABC News, around the world and into your home, the stories that touch your life with Hugh Downs and Barbara Walters. This is 2020.
How you doing? Come on in.
Tonight, our hidden cameras take you where no one wants to go.
Right here.
Funeral shopping.
That's all you need.
An eye-opening expose of a high-priced business. Funerals.
They can get away with whatever they want to.
We caught them dead to rights. These fast-talking funeral directors, lying, cheating, squeezing the most vulnerable consumers. You.
The metal casket's about one step above a Maxwell House coffee can.
You'll learn what to say when they say,
You trust me with this?
you won't believe what John Stossel found. The hard sell in the funeral business. For some, it's carved in stone. R.I.P. off. And don't let your parents fight this one alone. It's the Medicare battle. You're going to end up paying more, but wait till you see the money that's wasted.
Taxpayers of this country have every right to be just mad as hell about this.
Why did you pay $44,000 for one man's bandages? $18 million for vests like this. This supplier made millions by charging sky high.
I'm told to make a couple of $1,000 profit per patient. That's exactly what the government tells me to do.
Arnold Diaz with a report every American should see. The outrageous truth about Medicare spending. Kiss your money goodbye. Plus, everyone's talking about melatonin, the pill that promises everything. Better sex, slower aging, longer life, deeper sleep.
How quick did you get a response?
The first night.
Fantastic claims, a growing army of believers. But are they ignoring potential dangers?
We need to know these things before the stuff is sold to the public.
Dr. Timothy Johnson with valuable advice about the hot little supplement with a huge reputation. Melatonin and miracles. Those stories tonight, November 3rd, 1995, after this brief message.
Over the past 3 years, Dodge has offered a choice of more new nameplates than anybody else. Here are 3 more new choices, but they aren't cars. They are 3 choices that make it easier for you to drive a new Dodge. Choose from generous cash incentives or exceptional interest rates or extremely low lease rates. The Dodge Buyer's Choice Sale. Why would you choose to buy anyplace else?
Over the last 150 years, all kinds of companies have said they'd be there when you needed them. Didn't stand up to their promises. That's life. Our policy of thoughtful, prudent investing has kept us, well, a pillar of strength for the last 150 years. That's New York Life, the company you keep.
It is one of the most expensive items your family will ever buy. What goes into the price of a funeral? Most people don't know, and few ask. At a most vulnerable time, it is easier, of course, to trust the integrity of the funeral director. But is that always wise?
Well, to answer that question, we decided to take our hidden cameras where you can't ordinarily go. Behind the closed doors of the funeral industry. What John Stossel discovered there is astonishing. You will see things you've never seen before. Unscrupulous funeral directors looking to make a big profit off your loss.
The funeral industry, say critics, is a business that victimizes people when they're weak. The average cost of a funeral and burial in this country is about $6,000. Some people pay that and more because this kind of elaborate ceremony helps them get through the death of a loved one.
Merciful Lord, you know the anguish of the sorrowful.
But often people pay so much because they don't know that they have a choice. After all, when a loved one dies, you don't have the time or the heart to shop around. And that gives a funeral director the perfect opportunity to manipulate you.
The abuse of the consumer in the funeral industry is absolutely vast. I mean, it's extraordinary.
32 years ago, Jessica Mitford wrote a scathing bestseller that said American funeral homes bully grieving families into paying too much. Today, say Mitford and current researcher Karen Leonard, little has changed.
Because the consumer doesn't know what is going on and how this business is run, they can get away with whatever they want to.
Because most of you won't deal with this issue until you're at a time of crisis, we thought we'd offer a more clear-eyed look at the business of dying.
Someone from New Jersey Casket, please report.
It's a big business, $9 billion a year, and consumers pay for lots of extras. This is a funeral trade show. It's a lot like a car show. There are all kinds of makes and models. Jewel-handled caskets, caskets made of rare, expensive wood.
Ah, the classics. You never get tired of them.
Casket makers use sales aids like this overblown video to get funeral directors' attention.
These are a few of the things we love.
The new reversible overthrow
Upholstery is sold separately.
with the trapunto violet blossom design on one side is a feature of the upgraded model.
They like it when you buy the upgraded model.
Each piece of wood is selected perfectly.
Funeral director John Carmen gave me a customer's tour of his casket room.
That's why a casket like this is going to be $5,000.
When we'd asked the National Funeral Directors Association for someone who would talk about the industry, they referred us to Carmen.
What's the cheapest you've got here? The most reasonable casket by its construction process.
You don't like the word cheap?
No. I don't think anybody should have to have that feeling that it's the cheapest casket.
At least Carmen's sales pitch was low pressure, and he did show us a cheap casket. Of course, our camera was there. Would shopping be different if we went to other parlors with a hidden camera?
President Nixon was buried in this casket.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
We visited 26 funeral homes in 4 states. Sometimes people gave us fair and compassionate service. But about half the time, salesmen lied to us, broke consumer laws, or misled us in some way. At Buckmiller Funeral Home in Connecticut, we asked this man, is a simple casket available?
I can get those. Believe it or not, the plain wooden boxes are almost as expensive as a regular casket. To tell you the truth.
But that's just not true. He also lied when he said his cheapest casket cost $1,600.
Those are the least expensive.
Yet they carry caskets for about half that price. The owner did offer a simple cremation for $1,600, but then came the sales pitch for a full funeral. He said he'd help us keep the price down.
I don't think there's any necessity to go keep it up. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? We'll keep it down. Let's keep it down, let's keep it simple, and then you'll know everything that's going on by the time you leave here.
Sounds good. So he took us downstairs to the casket room. He showed us what he implied was a cheap casket.
That's all you need. Basic, decent, and that's it. Without going through all this heavy stuff. For what? You don't have to do that. Keep it down. And this is where I would keep it.
It's so reassuring. Someone who's helping us keep the price down. Someone who's not overselling. He's just selling the producer, Mark, the basics.
Because, Mark, one is just like the other. Will you trust me with this? One is just like the other. So whether it's this oak or this, and you're talking $2,000 for what? You don't have to do that.
All right, we'll pay less. But listen to his conclusion.
All right? You trust me? Okay, that's it. Harvard, $2,385. Basic.
$2,385. If I just lost a loved one, I might not have heard that. I might have just signed the contract. Yet remember, minutes before, he'd said there was no point in spending even $2,000.
And $2,000 for what? You don't have to do that.
Then look at the bill he gave us. $2,300 for a casket. Another $800 for a container to put the casket in. $1,600 for professional services. And so on. This inexpensive funeral and burial would have cost more than $7,000. Now, a well-informed consumer might have asked for the funeral home's price list. The law says funeral directors must offer it to us, so he and 5 others didn't.
Just take my word. You don't have to go spending money on funerals and getting the funerals way up. You don't have to do that. For what?
How you doing? Come on in.
Hi.
Another common technique is to move you up in price by making you feel bad if you pick something cheaper. At Raymond Funeral Home in Connecticut, Mark asked about a cheaper metal casket.
Perfectly frank and honest with you. The metal casket's about one step above a Maxwell House coffee can.
It's called a morgue box.
A morgue box is how they disparage the simple casket at Kennedy Funeral Home in New York.
You go to a lumber yard, get lumber, and slap it together with some nails. It's not as ornate as this at all. It's very, very plain.
It's a little like listening to car salesmen. Most aren't doing anything illegal. They just want to sell you options and fancy your model.
This is thousands of pounds worth of steel and concrete to protect the kids because people don't want it crushed.
He says, for protection, we should consider spending $2,000 more for a vault.
The weight of the earth, thousands of pounds will push down the casket and crush it.
Or for more protection, how about a sealed casket?
Water can't get in, air can't get in, bugs can't get in, little critters can't get in.
They are constantly selling protective things, protective caskets, protective vaults to protect your loved one. This is outrageous, really. When you put a body in a protective casket in a protective vault, instead of natural process of decomposition, drying out and becoming a skeleton, instead you get a slimy, moldy, much slower process, and it's much more gruesome. And if anybody could see the outcome of such an event, they would never choose that. But they're not telling you that.
These are some of the reasons the average funeral and burial cost about $6,000. You can get a simple burial for less than $2,000. But when Mark asked about that at Glasscott Funeral Home, the director said, "You better talk to your family." He was alarmed at what a simple burial might do to the kids.
You can't just go home one day and say, you know, Grandpa died. Oh. And what happened? Oh, we buried him. You know, the kid can be very upset.
Another cheaper alternative is cremation.
The most modest thing for me to do would be is a cremation.
Cremation is available for $800, so not here.
That runs about $3,300 complete with us.
If you try to buy a simple cremation, some places will make you feel selfish. This man calls it a disposal.
That's like saying, my father's death is an inconvenience. Make it go away.
Now, if you do go with cremation, you could scatter the ashes or keep them in the container the crematorium gives you. But a funeral director might try to sell you an urn. Some of these cost more than $1,000. This salesman told us, if you like dolphins, a smaller, cheaper urn wouldn't hold all your mother's ashes. For $1,700, you could buy the bigger dolphin that will.
You could go keep Mom all in that, or keep some of Mom in this.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask him and the other funeral directors to talk about why they did what they did. Some wouldn't comment. On the phone, these three said they were just describing what they sell. And this man claimed he suspected we were undercover, perhaps from the government. And so he'd made things up so we'd tell people how bad he was. That's really what he said.
I'm going to do a full funeral for you. Because it's a lot easier for me to erase and make the numbers lower than me to erase and make the numbers higher. Do you know what I mean?
Only John Carmen agreed to speak for the camera.
The criticism of you guys is that you have suckered people at their moment of grief into paying for more service than they need.
I don't think that's the case. I believe that, in all honesty, people do what they want to do and that's been important for them.
Maybe it's because you calm them in a moment of weakness, when they're in shock from losing a loved one.
I certainly don't believe that that's the case.
So people are spending thousands of dollars more than they have to because they want to.
Because they want to. They've got the choice.
If people knew what their choices were, the cheapest way to dispose of a loved one's body is to donate it to science, say, to a medical school. That's free. It's good for society, too. It advances research. But we found funeral directors will mislead you about that, too.
We just went through this very recently with the Only Haven Hospital. A woman wanted to leave her body to science. She donated it to Yale. Yale refused.
The Buckmiller Funeral Home director claimed hospitals would reject the body.
They have so many bodies, they don't know what to do with them. And that's really the case right now. There are so many people donating their bodies to science. They are refusing them.
Yale told us they rarely reject bodies. And the nearby University of Connecticut said they're always short of bodies. They'll pick them up free, and in 1 year return the ashes, also free. Of course, one way to protect yourself from being ripped off at a time of grief is to pre-plan.
There are many reasons for pre-planning funerals. Peace of mind. Sparing family difficult decisions.
Making arrangements in advance does let you shop under less pressure. Still, while it's a good idea to pre-plan, many funeral directors will try to get you to prepay.
Right? You're guaranteed to get what you paid for because it's in the bank.
Prepaying for any big expense probably isn't smart, because there's no guarantee that the business won't abscond with your money. Consumer's Digest says so far, Americans have lost $50 million prepaying for funerals.
This is a place to shelter some money.
Finally, one other prepayment scam, ripping off the taxpayer. We asked actress Esther Brandeis to pose as a woman preparing for her brother's funeral. She said her brother was going into a nursing home. Larry Bolin of Carmona Bolin Funerals in New Jersey explained how she could actually make money on a funeral.
It's a matter of numbers, of what a person has, how much you want to let the nursing home take from you for his care, and then whatever you want to shelter away, we shelter it away.
Yeah, wait.
In other words, by prepaying for a big funeral, he'll make sure your brother lowers his net worth enough to qualify for free Medicaid care. New Jersey Medicaid lets you prepay whatever you want for a funeral. So by putting aside, say, $30,000 for a fancy funeral, you can make yourself look broke enough to qualify for free taxpayer-paid nursing home care. Just give Mr. Bolin the money. Then, here's the real trick. When your brother dies, pick a cheaper funeral, and Bolin will kick back the cash to you.
If somebody prearranges that funeral, and we put away $27,000. And when a death occurs, they want this one, which is $15,000. There's $12,000 extra in the account. I cannot keep it. Okay? It goes back to that secondary beneficiary, and Medicaid can't touch it.
He showed her how he'd done that for lots of people. We don't know that all his customers know it's a scam.
But these are all prearrangements, and most of these people are in nursing homes. And it's accounts that were set up.
Who would know from this?
It's accounts that were set up for different people's benefit, okay?
For example, he did this plan for one couple. We've deleted their name.
If dies, we pay the excess benefit to her brother. So anything that's left over, when I do the funeral, gets it. It goes to...
Mr. Bolin refused to talk to us about this deal. Now, aren't there regulators who are supposed to watch for this kind of thing? Well, there are, but let's be realistic. They can't watch every transaction, or even a fraction of them. What polices most industries is the customer. If there's competition, if consumers have choices, then customer watchfulness prevents most scams. But that doesn't really work in the funeral business because, as we said, people are reluctant to shop around at times of grief. And also because most Americans are just uncomfortable talking about death.
It's really a typically American funeral phenomenon. Doesn't really happen in the rest of the world.
In Europe, there are funeral supermarkets. This one in Paris is open 24 hours a day. Here you can pick out your own supplies, caskets, urns, flowers, accessories, and the supplies are much cheaper. Of course, funeral homes in America couldn't get away with charging so much more if people just knew what funerals could cost. Advertising prices would help that, but this business rarely does that. They advertise that they care.
Sometimes the most important thing in life is the understanding touch of a friend.
They almost never say what that touch costs. Price ads quickly bring prices down. Contact lenses cost $400 till the government dropped its ban on price ads. Within a year, the same lenses could be had for less than $100. But price advertising rarely happens in the funeral industry because of the fear that the public might be offended. Some newspapers and TV stations will only take ads that don't mention prices. This helps the industry, because if you haven't seen a rare ad like this, it's much easier to charge you $3,000 for a cremation or $7,000 for a burial.
Tuck that in your coat and you're in business.
I think this salesman at the funeral show was quite candid about the business.
Well, it can be excessive, absolutely. This country is built on excess. That's what made us world-renowned. This is the American way of death.
Well, John, I'll bet like a lot of us, I never thought about this until I watched this piece. I'm going to put instructions in my will now. Gee.
That's smart to do, and that helps your heirs know what to do. But also, just by having the information, you're somewhat protected. Sure. Knowing you can get a burial for $2,000, cremation for $1,000, or donate to science for free. You know you have a choice. It's harder for them to rip you off.
You have some papers in front of you, and I heard that funeral homes and funeral directors have already been writing to us?
Yeah, I think this is very interesting. They're telling people what to say on the phone if people call after watching this piece, such as, yes, that was grossly unethical what they showed, but I'm not like this. And they also say, I don't believe the show painted a fair picture of funeral directors. And we've got this 2 days ago.
So they knew we were doing this. Well,
but
you know...
also they said this, it was unfair before they
before they even saw it. And we always have to say, this isn't everybody, but
That's right.
buyer beware. Important. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Well, next, a fight that you should really get in on. It's about how they plan to spend your money. Don't let Congress take another red cent until you see what Arnold Diaz discovered. It's an American outrage.
If you were to take every honor, every award, everything positive that's been said about the Toyota Camry, and lay them end to end, you'd probably ask yourself, why did I do that? Better to drive one yourself and come up with a few accolades of your own. The 1996 Camry, the gold standard from Toyota.
Another great price. But how do they do it? New low prices are made fresh daily right here at your Walmart store. Teams of dedicated professionals work around the clock. Mike monitors systems carefully. Burley examines every detail. Each price is checked and double-checked. Finally, it's placed on the shelf. But it's not over, because tomorrow is another day. Walmart, people working together to make prices better every day.
In business today, you never know what's going to creep up on you. The smallest things can disrupt your cellular calls, your business calls, your faxes. But now AT&T can protect your business against virtually anything. For the first time, all your calls on AT&T's long-distance network are guaranteed end-to-end.
Good evening, Mr. Katz.
AT&T, for the life of your business.
I'm a grown-up. I know I need a nutritious breakfast, but a tiny magic voice inside me says, oh, frosting! I think fat and salt are a big no-no. I know, go for taste!
Relax. With Kellogg's Frosted Mini Wheats, you can have it both ways. For the adult in you, whole grain wheat, 98% fat-free, no salt added. For the kid in you, lightly frosted, great taste.
I know what always gets a gold star from me.
I'm lucky. I landed in the perfect place. My sister and I grew up here. My house, it holds all my memories. I had my practice here and raised my family here. But now there's so much I want to do, and I want to do it here.
Things don't have to change. Ask a Merrill Lynch financial consultant who can help with the plan and more ways to make the plan work than anyone else. The difference is planning. The difference is Merrill Lynch.
Saturday, can Jeff be sensitive to Karen's pregnancy?
Do I look fat to you?
Do I look stupid to you? The Jeff Foxworthy Show. Sometimes the hormones work for you. Then when Shirley challenges Julia,
Be spontaneous.
Julia goes wild.
R-E-S-A-C-T.
Maybe this time after Foxworthy, Saturday.
Saturday, what a night of stars. First, your favorite celebrities as you've never seen them before. See the biggest stars like Harrison Ford, Gina Davis, and Michael Richards in an all-new Before There Were Stars. Then, don't touch the dial. The planet turns Hollywood with all the stars you could ever imagine. Yes! It's the hottest celebrity block party with music greats Elton John and Chuck Berry. Join Arnold, Bruce, Demi, and Sly when Planet Hollywood comes home. Saturday, all the stars come together on A Beatles Z.
Get ready to dig a little deeper into your pockets. Congress is talking about your money again. And when it comes to health care, older Americans are going to be paying more and getting less. You may have heard Medicare premiums are about to go up, and so are the deductibles. Well, why is Medicare so expensive? And where is the money going? Those are the critical questions Arnold Diaz has been asking. Hold on to your seats because you won't believe the answers.
That under the rules of the House, he is obliged to maintain order.
The battle over Medicare has been fierce and emotional.
Madam, take your seat.
Pitting seniors against senators and congressmen.
Why don't we have some answers to these questions? Why have people been denounced? Why?
And politicians against politicians.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself for what you're doing. Not the Democrats.
My grandmother
Don't do that to your grandmother.
If our elected officials are serious about saving Medicare, instead of talking at each other, they might try listening to people like Jim Quinn, who've seen how Medicare is wasting a fortune by paying too much for medical supplies.
When you get a $10,000 bill for a bandage like this for a 1 month period of time, you know there's something wrong.
It is wrong.
If this were your money, you'd never spend it this way. Well, this is your money, your tax dollars that Medicare's wasting. It's spending much more for medical supplies than you and I would if we went into a pharmacy or supply store and paid retail. Critics say Congress is wasting billions of your tax dollars because it doesn't shop around for the best price.
The General Accounting Office, better known as the GAO, issued this report for which it did shop around. Among the items it looked at were bandages. For a roll of gauze, which it found selling retail for 10 cents a yard, Medicare pays 44 cents a yard. A bandage like this, 42 cents a piece retail, Medicare's rate a whopping $3.77. And for this surgical dressing, the agency is using your tax dollars to pay 10 times more than retail.
So you're aware that these items can be purchased a lot cheaper than you're paying for them?
My family purchases them for our own use, of course.
Dr. Bruce Vladeck is the director of the Health Care Financing Administration, which runs the Medicare program.
I mean, if we really used our market power, we could save a lot of money.
The Veterans Administration, also a government agency, uses its market power, and what a difference. Surgical dressing, for which Medicare pays 86 cents, the VA buys for, are you ready, 4 cents. Transparent bandages, $1.38 versus 6 cents. Wound dressing, your Medicare money pays $2.32 apiece. The VA gets it for less than a nickel.
The average taxpayer is going to look at this and say, this is absurd. Why should Medicare be paying 58 times as much as the Veterans Administration for an item?
They're right. They're absolutely correct. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's just, there is no justification for it.
Why? Senator Tom Harkin of Iowa is on the subcommittee that oversees Medicare and agrees it's an outrageous waste of money.
Senator, why is it that the Veterans Administration pays so much less for items than Medicare does?
Because the Veterans Administration engages in the good old American practice of competitively bidding.
Why doesn't Medicare?
Because the law prohibits Medicare from doing that.
Well, you're a lawmaker. Why not change it?
We tried to change it. I have been singularly unsuccessful in getting it done.
Why?
Well, it's a big industry. You're talking about billions of dollars a year. In many cases, they got a sweetheart deal going here, and it's tough to break it down.
These sweetheart deals are now part of the law. Congress passed legislation in the late 80s and early 90s establishing Medicare's official reimbursement rates by simply locking in the high prices suppliers had been charging the agency. That's why, for example, you can go in a store and buy this TENS unit for relieving chronic pain for $90, while Medicare is squandering $300 of your dollars for the same item. Why did Congress lock in such outrageous prices?
How did this come about? Why are Medicare's prices so much higher than the market price?
Well, I think at some point in the past, the supplier industry got to critical members of Congress and got these provisions put in the law, and we have not yet been able to get them out.
And guess how much of your tax money is going for this wheelchair seat cushion? Would you believe $880?
$880 for this.
$880 for this. We went to the manufacturer to find out what was in here. Less than $50 of naga hide and foam rubber in this. And they're billing Medicare $880 for it.
And get this, just on oxygen, the GAO says Medicare could save almost $1 billion a year. How? By paying the VA's rate, which is less than half of what Medicare's generously doling out. Why can't Medicare lower its rates? Well, it can for some items through a provision in the law that's seldom used, and here's why.
This is a blood glucose monitor. About 4 years ago, I found that Medicare was paying up to $211 for one of these. So I sent my staff out to a local Kmart and bought one for $59. So I called Medicare up. I said, we've got to change this. We've got to get the price down on the blood glucose monitors.
That was easier said than done. There's so much red tape involved, it took a year to go through all the steps just to propose the price change. Then another 6 months for it to be cleared by 3 separate government agencies. Next, it was published in the Federal Register so the public could comment. And after all that, the proposal was revised and the entire process had to be repeated. Altogether, it took 3 years.
To change on price of one item.
One item which you can walk in any drugstore in the United States and see it displayed on the front counter.
For a lot less than Medicare pays.
Half to a third.
That must be frustrating for you.
I can't begin to tell you.
So here we're talking about legal waste, right? This isn't fraud in this case.
No, it's legal, perfectly legal. Congress wrote those laws, put them in there, perfectly legal.
And all these companies are doing is taking advantage of what the law allows them to do.
I guess you can't blame them, can you?
I'm doing exactly what I'm told to do. I'm told to make a couple of $1,000s profit per patient. That's exactly what the government tells me to do. And it's not my fault that, I make that kind of money off a patient.
This supplier, who didn't want to be identified, made millions providing nursing home patients with kits containing medical supplies.
Kit would cost approximately $1 to $1.25, and Medicare would reimburse $30 for the same kit.
Why would Medicare be paying $30 for $1's worth of supplies?
It's a good question.
And he had no trouble billing for more kits than people really needed.
How were you able to get away with sending in more supplies than were really necessary?
Who's going to check it?
Well, didn't Medicare?
No.
Nobody questioned your bills?
No.
Jim Quinn questioned the bills from another supplier, which sent 1,500 bandages to treat the sore on his father's leg.
It doesn't take a genius to figure out that there's something wrong when you have $44,000 for bandages like these over a 4-month period.
You heard it right. Here are the Medicare statements for the 4 months, totaling $44,000 for one sore.
You know darn good and well that we're not only healing a sore, we're healing somebody's pocketbook on this deal.
Speaking of excessive bills, how about almost $3,000 to treat a scrape on the arm of Julie Moore's mother? The bill included tubes of gel. You won't believe what you paid for these.
They provided 2 of these. It's a 3-ounce bottle, and they billed Medicare $210 a piece.
Julie was so incensed, she did her own shopping and found the same gel selling for $17.50. She then complained to the supply company and says they told her, don't worry, your mother isn't paying, Medicare is.
They're claiming that it wouldn't cost her anything. It cost her, it cost me, it cost every single taxpayer in this country.
And you're not going to like it when you hear how much this ordinary back brace has been costing taxpayers.
This cost $1,000. And this is $1,000. I could do a lot with $1,000 and not buy me one.
Because of a loophole in the Medicare law, suppliers got rich pushing this item onto patients like Thomas Archuleta. All the suppliers had to do was call it a custom-fitted body jacket. This is what a real body jacket looks like, but because Medicare had no precise guidelines, suppliers were able to substitute this $150 back support and charge $1,000 for it. It's no wonder in 2 years, billings for body jackets skyrocketed from $217,000 to $18 million before Medicare began to address the problem.
The average citizen out there who's worried about Medicare being cut, I mean, you hear these tales of huge abuse in the system. All of this money being wasted. It's infuriating.
It is infuriating. You know, taxpayers of this country have every right to be just mad as hell about this.
Who should we be mad as hell at?
Well, I think we have every right to be angry at the medical supply industry. We ought to be angry at the people who run Medicare, and people ought to be mad at Congress that we haven't had the guts to change the law. The law must be changed. If we do that, you'll save billions of dollars every year.
Corporal, call the roll.
Mr. Abraham.
Well, guess what? Last week, the Senate had a chance to change that law, but Senator Harkin's amendment to the Medicare bill to allow for competitive bidding was defeated.
Mr. Bacchus.
Arnold, why was the Harkin amendment, I can't believe this, defeated? And does that mean nothing's going to happen in the foreseeable future?
Well, you know, Congress realizes they've got a problem. They thought they were doing the right thing when they established these rates in the 80s, that they'd save money in the long run, but it hasn't worked out that way. They're against competitive bidding. The suppliers argue it would put a lot of the little businesses out of business. It would create monopolies. But Congress is considering cutting the price of oxygen and freezing the prices of some other supplies.
Now, what are the suppliers saying about this, if anything?
Well, they say the prices are fair, and they say that some of the figures in the GAO report were not accurate, and they say they deliver a service. They deliver the supplies, they teach you how to use them. It's not just the cost of the item.
Well, whatever, it is an infuriating report, and I thank you for bringing it to us. Thank you, Arnold.
Okay.
Well, next, would you like to sleep well, live longer, and have better sex? Well, who wouldn't? And that's just what supporters say this one incredible pill might do for you. Everyone's talking about melatonin, but should everyone try it? Dr. Timothy Johnson's indispensable advice after this.
Deadlines have no mercy. Thankfully, wherever you are, whenever you're finished, you can modem a document to Sir Speedy 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sir Speedy will print, copy, bind, and deliver your work when and where you need it. Going online is fast and free. Just call your nearby Sir Speedy and be part of the printing, copying, digital network.
Anybody can service automobiles, but you're going to be able to take care of the customer. Describe the legend in your over bumps, or do you?
Definitely over a bump, I think.
They come in to see me because they need something to be fixed. They want me to take care of them. Everybody has different problems. Everybody has different needs. See the way I was going with? To move it back. The quality care standards. It just opens up that communication, lets people know that we care.
Quality care people, quality care standards at your Ford and Lincoln Mercury dealer.
A sparkling ship on crystal waters is coming. Absolutely gorgeous. It was so much fun. The perfect lobster is coming.
Our waiters, they would do anything for us, any time.
Perfection is coming.
A gift from the captain.
Memories are coming. 3 or 4 days in Royal Caribbean's Bahamas are coming. You've got some Royal Caribbean coming.
This holiday season, don't let a fortune pass you by. The Discover Card Big Payback is back, awarding 8 winners $250,000 each. Just shop with your Discover Card, and you're automatically entered in our holiday sweepstakes. The more you do, the more chances you have to win. Who would want to miss that? It pays to Discover, the card with the big payback. Use it where you see the Novus sign. To apply for your Discover Card, just call 1-800-DISCOVER.
Sunday, he's a fugitive from the law, caught between love and freedom.
I don't know who you are. I don't know why you're here.
Do you want me to go? Jean-Claude Van Damme and Rosanna Arquette. Nowhere to Run. Sunday, parental discretion advised. When Bobby and his girlfriend team up to catch a rapist.
You gotta take care of yourself.
Diane becomes the bait.
What did I do? Next day, what did I do anymore?
And their relationship is put to the test.
What's going on?
An all-new Blue Tuesday. Viewer discretion advised.
What a reputation. A bottle full of miracles. The hot little pill at your local store. Anti-cancer, anti-aging, better sleep, better sex. Melatonin and miracles. When 2020 continues after this from our ABC stations.
I'm 7 News meteorologist Pam Dale. Many of you have called the station to ask if I'm pregnant. Well, it's true. And that seems to raise a lot of questions on how a woman in a wheelchair is able to have and take care of a baby. Tonight I'll explain what a woman with a disability goes through to experience the miracle of childbirth.
Pam has a next-day forecast, even a 5-day forecast. Tonight, she shares her 9-month forecast on 7 News at 10.
Carpet Exchange stocks more carpet. More carpet than all our competition combined. Get wear-dated carpet by Monsanto, $16.99 a square yard. Carpet Exchange. More carpet for your money.
Tonight.
Part of historic Elitch Gardens goes up in flames. Was it deliberately set? A verdict could be reached today in Nathan Dunlap's burglary trial. And the city announces the final day you can see Klondike in snow.
Tonight on 7 News at 10.
How do some guys do it? They never seem to slow down. Instead of skipping meals, instead of eating junk, they've discovered new resource, the liquid nutritional food. It's not age that slows most of us down. It's usually not eating right. Delicious Resource helps guarantee you get the nutritional edge you need to be your best every day. Improve your diet. Improve your life with new Resource, the liquid nutritional food. Our families need Medicare, but now we learn the truth.
Now, we don't get rid of it in round one because we don't think that that's politically smart. We don't think that's the right way to go through a transition. But we believe it's going to wither on the vine.
And now the Republicans in Congress want the president to cut a deal and just let Medicare wither on the vine. No deal. The president will veto any bill that cuts Medicare benefits, education, or harms the environment. The president believes we must do our duty by our parents and provide our children with opportunity.
The frantic search for a missing woman. Tonight on 7 News at 10.
From ABC News, 2020 continues. Once again, Hugh Downs.
Now, the little pill that sounds too good to be true. You name the problem. Sex, aging, cancer, sleep disorders. And melatonin is being touted as the treatment. That's why millions of people are stocking up on this over-the-counter drug. Some are following their doctor's advice, but most are following the grapevine. Can melatonin live up to its reputation? Should everyone take it? We have valuable advice from our own Dr. Timothy Johnson.
Click on the TV. Scientists who treat sleep disorders find that melatonin helps their patients sleep.
Or pick up a newspaper. Or visit a bookstore, and you're bound to spot the newest medical miracle, the hormone melatonin. The claims for melatonin are fantastic. Believers say it helps to fight AIDS, Alzheimer's, heart disease, cancer, helps to treat sleep problems and jet lag, may even jumpstart your sex drive. And if that's not enough, supporters also say that it helps you live longer without growing older.
Melatonin is a way of preventing disease, slowing aging, and helping you get to sleep at night.
But before you run out to buy melatonin, you should know that you already have some in your body. Melatonin is a hormone that is produced by the light-sensitive pineal gland in the center of your brain. When night falls, melatonin production starts. At morning's light, it stops. In this way, the pineal serves as the brain's internal timekeeper, telling us when to sleep or wake. But after childhood, the pineal progressively produces less and less melatonin. At age 45, humans secrete half as much as when they were children. And at age 80, melatonin production slows to a trickle. In other words, the drop in melatonin levels occurs as we age. And, according to this man, that drop in melatonin is what actually causes us to age.
And the pineal gland is a clock that triggers the aging process.
Dr. William Riegelson is a professor of medicine at the Medical College of Virginia, Virginia Commonwealth University. In his book, he describes an experiment in which scientists in Italy transplanted a pineal gland from a young mouse into an old mouse and vice versa. The result?
The animals truly rejuvenate. These older animals, after a period of time, do seem to be more youthful.
1 year after switching their pineals, Riegelson claims the two mice look almost identical, although one is half the age of the other. In human terms, he writes, it's like a 40-year-old and a 90-year-old being mistaken for twins. Of course, there's an easier way for humans to increase their melatonin levels by taking melatonin supplements, now made synthetically and sold inexpensively without prescription in health food and drugstores. And some doctors recommend taking melatonin to counter all kinds of ills. Dr. Stephen Bach, a family practitioner in upstate New York, has recommended melatonin supplements for over 300 of his patients. In your book, you have a subtitle called The Natural Plan for Better Sex. What do you mean by that?
By normalizing the body's rhythms, person feels better balanced, they feel more energetic. They come in and they say, yeah, my libido is fine. It's, 50% better.
Dr. Bach also recommends melatonin to help battle insomnia. We spoke to 3 of his patients who have suffered from sleep problems and are now taking melatonin.
I was awake at night and asleep during the day. I was exhausted constantly.
I wasn't getting any rest, and I was constantly tired all the time.
How quick did you get a response?
The first night.
The first night?
Yeah.
Literally?
Literally the first night. And I thought, I haven't slept this good since before I had kids. And there's no side effect whatsoever from the melatonin. It's amazing.
And if longer life, better sex, and a good night's sleep are not enough, there's more. Dr. Russell Ryder, a cellular biologist at the University of Texas Health Science Center, has studied melatonin for over 30 years. In his book, he says that melatonin has both antioxidant and immune system benefits that may help to treat or delay the onset of many other major crippling illnesses. His claims are based on animal, laboratory, and some human studies. The book suggests specific benefits in breast cancer and prostate cancer.
Melatonin is known, for example, to inhibit hormones that stimulate the cancer growth, and it directly inhibits the growth of the cancer cells themselves.
Talk about the possible impact of melatonin in AIDS.
By itself, it's not going to cure AIDS, but it could have a beneficial effect in prolonging the immune capacity of the individual.
Now, talk about some of the possible side effects.
There are some people who, in fact, show hyperexcitability. Their heart rate may actually increase as a consequence of taking melatonin. There are individuals who have disturbed sleep rather than more restful sleep when they take melatonin. These cases are clearly in the minority.
So where do we stand with melatonin today? Clearly, reputable scientists are excited about its potential to treat all kinds of human disorders. But they insist we need many more studies in humans to determine long-term effectiveness and safety. To date, the largest study in humans has been using it as a contraceptive. It was given to over 1,500 women for a year in a fairly large dose, 75 milligrams in combination with another drug. And in that study, it showed promise as a contraceptive, and there were no apparent side effects. But there are only a handful of other short-term human studies, plus a lot of animal and laboratory test tube studies of varying quality. Based on the limited number of human studies, critics say it is far too early to be recommending melatonin for human long-term use, even in low doses. How do you respond to all these claims? What are they in your judgment?
It's science fiction, and it belongs in the sci-fi section of the bookstore. There are no controlled studies on people with breast cancer or AIDS. Frankly, I think it's just mischievous to make these claims in the absence of any clinical data. I think they're shameful.
Dr. Richard Wortman of MIT has conducted human trials of melatonin as a sleep aid and is co-founder of a company that plans to market it for that purpose in low doses, well under 1 milligram. He says most of the other claims now being made for melatonin simply have not been proven. Does melatonin improve sexual performance?
Exactly the opposite probably occurs. Melatonin in the body normally serves to inhibit sexual function in most species.
A lot of animal data cited by supporters of melatonin. Does it have any relevance in humans?
No, because you and I, we secrete melatonin at nighttime, and we sleep at nighttime. The rat also secretes melatonin at nighttime, but the rat doesn't sleep at nighttime, it sleeps in the daytime.
So the point is that laboratory animals are simply of no value whatsoever in predicting human responses to melatonin.
And the question of what dose to take for what purpose is currently a matter of guessing rather than knowing. For example, one current book suggests that for sleep, melatonin could be taken at night anywhere from a fraction of 1 milligram to 10 full milligrams. But according to Dr. Dan Oren, who studies biological rhythms at the National Institute of Mental Health, even a few milligrams can result in very high blood levels in humans.
If you take what's in the health food stores, you could easily be getting levels of melatonin in your body that are 100 times what your body normally produces.
Look, melatonin is a hormone, okay? It's like estrogen. It's like thyroid hormone. And you wouldn't expect a health food store to sell estrogen or thyroid hormone.
And finally, there's the question of safety. Since melatonin is not a prescription drug, its manufacturing is not monitored by the FDA, and there are no guarantees of purity. Critics say the story of what happened with another over-the-counter sleep aid, the amino acid L-tryptophan, is a grim reminder of what can happen.
The FDA now wants all existing supplies of L-tryptophan taken off the shelves altogether.
L-tryptophan was sold in health food stores until 1989. That's when an impure batch was linked to a blood disorder that caused 36 deaths and 6,000 injuries. Can you be assured if you go out and buy a melatonin product that it's safe in terms of the manufacturing process?
There are no guarantees. The buyer always has to be aware. But in reference to melatonin, the product itself, so far as we know, is safe.
The fact that melatonin has now been taken for a few months or a year by the public and that people are not dropping dead like flies in no way means that it's not going to happen a year or 2 or 6 years from now. We need to know these things before the stuff is sold to the public.
Still, Tim, a lot of people will say, well, I'll take the chance. But since it's not in a prescription, what do you think someone should do?
I'm definitely in the conservative camp on this one. I think we've got so much to learn about long-term effects, interaction with other drugs, interaction with other hormones in the body, that I personally would not consider taking this on a long-term basis, except under one circumstance. If I had a severe insomnia problem that I couldn't solve in any other way, I think there is good evidence that it can help that problem in most people who try it. Even then, I would take it in a very low dose, far less than 1 milligram, probably 0.2 of a milligram. But for any other reason, I want to wait and get more evidence. Jet lag also, by the way, it's helpful in jet lag and resetting the body clock, but that's a short-term use.
No real knowledge that it may prevent cancer, no knowledge that it may improve your sex drive, that's all just bunk?
Little hints, but not studied in humans. Absolutely unproven, absolutely unproven.
So when in doubt, don't take it, and right now, there's too much doubt in your opinion.
That's a good summary.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, thanks, Tim, and stick around, because Tim's going to stay with us, because when we come back, he's going to give us a lowdown on a new over-the-counter treatment for a very common ailment. How do you spell relief?
Mortgage payments, college tuition, career choices. People can get so lost in their day-to-day concerns that they simply avoid planning for their retirement. Unfortunately, that's life. New York Life has all kinds of life insurance policies to help make sure you enjoy your retirement. We can even help you catch up if you started planning late. That's New York Life, the company you keep.
What should you do when a simple anti-wrinkle cream is no longer enough?
Look for the most advanced products.
L'Oreal has created Plenitude Revitalift, double performance anti-wrinkle plus firming care. With Pro-Retinol A, Revitalift reduces the appearance of wrinkles.
Your skin will look smoother.
With Paralasto, Revitalift increases skin's firmness.
You'll see firmer skin.
See results in just 1 week. New Plenitude Revitalift from L'Oreal reduces the signs of aging.
ABC News 2020 will continue in a moment.
Saturday on ABC Sports, golf's best tee it up in Hawaii as we begin coverage of the Lincoln Mercury Kapalua International. And on ABC's college football, Penn State invades surprising Northwestern. LSU takes on SEC rival Alabama. Or other regional action from the Pac-10, Big Ten, and Big East. It's all Saturday on ABC Sports.
Lois and Clark meet Metropolis's other perfect couple. But are they out to eliminate the competition?
You're the honey. Superman's the bee.
No! Jonathan Frakes and Jeannie Francis guest on Lois and Clark, Sunday on ABC.
I don't worry so much about my health as much as I worry about paying for it.
For the same premium as Medicare Part B, Blue Advantage for Seniors gives you many extra benefits. Call 831-3000.
Out, Prof, you got it?
With everything I'm doing in my life right now, the more I can do to stay healthy, the better.
For more ways Blue Advantage for Seniors can help you stay healthy, call 831-3000. 831-3000.
Now, the bottles, these new bottles appearing in America's medicine cabinets, an exciting new over-the-counter treatment for a familiar ailment, heartburn. That's that burning sensation you may feel in your chest after a meal. And Dr. Timothy Johnson is back with us now to talk about this breakthrough. And Tim, I'd like to start by asking, what causes heartburn, and what's all this fuss about this new treatment?
Well, that sensation in your chest you describe is caused when acid contents from the stomach back up into the lower end of the food pipe and irritate it and cause pain and discomfort. And until recently, the only over-the-counter treatment available to the public has been the famous array of antacids, all kinds of antacids, pill form, liquid form. And it works very well. The antacid goes down and immediately meets the acid and neutralizes it, so it acts very quickly, but it will only last for an hour or two in terms of the benefit. What's happened recently, and all the ads people are seeing now on television, are for another category of treatment that just became available over the counter, so-called acid blockers. They've seen ads for drugs like Pepsid or Tagamet, and there will be another one in a month or two on the market called Zantac. These acid blockers get to the source of the problem. They prevent the acid from being secreted in the first place, so they're generally more effective. They last longer. They take a little longer to work in the first place. They're more expensive. So now consumers go into the drugstore and they have a choice between quick-acting, cheap antacids or these longer-acting, more effective but more expensive acid blockers.
Tim, I remember those names. They used to be used, maybe they still are, for ulcers before we knew that ulcers was a virus.
That's right. They can also be used to counteract the acid that can make ulcers work, and they're still used temporarily while we give antibiotics to treat the cause of most ulcers, namely a bacterium.
So I have two questions.
Yeah.
One, how come they're now over the counter? And two, does that mean you don't need a doctor anymore?
Well, the reason they're over the counter is because there's a consumer movement afoot to make some drugs available over the counter. They're in the over-the-counter version. They're at a lower dose than you can get by prescription. To answer your other question, no. If you have chronic heartburn occurring all the time, you absolutely should see a doctor to find out exactly what's going on and to get some other drugs that are available only by prescription.
Okay, so
More
now we
relief
know.
all the
More
time?
relief.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Good.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Up next, are they trying to survive or do they have a secret agenda?
It's countdown time. Only days left to see Denver's favorite Bears.
And is there something more to this picture than meets the eye? It's all next on 7 News.
Is there a cat food that helps maintain cats' urinary tract health?
Cat Chow Special Care reduces urinary pH and provides low dietary magnesium. Purina Cat Chow Special Care brand cat food. Better care makes better cats.
I love eggs from my head down to my legs.
Heard the latest news about eggs and cholesterol? Write for our booklet, Eggs and Good Health.
Ooh, you gotta love it, the incredible edible egg.
And now it's time to check in with Nightline, and Ted Koppel has a preview of tonight's program.
Tonight on Nightline, you want to know what Colin Powell is going through this weekend as he considers the pros and cons of a run for the White House? Some advice from 7 past presidential hopefuls who've talked the talk and walked the walk tonight.
That's Nightline after your local news. We'd like to take a moment to welcome a new ABC station, WTVG-TV, Channel 13 in Toledo, Ohio. We're glad to have you with us. That is 2020 for tonight. Thank you for joining us.
And remember, Toledo, we're in touch, so you be in touch, and we're glad you are. I'm Barbara Walters.
And I'm Hugh Downs.
And for all of us here at 2020, have a good weekend, safe weekend. Good night.
Sunday on Brinkley, conservatives in revolt, Republicans huddling. What's the fuss? The frenzy over Colin Powell. Oliver North, Jack Kemp, and others, Sunday.
For video cassette inquiries of this program, call 1-800-913-3434. The price is $29.95 plus $4 shipping and handling. For transcripts, call 1-800-ALL-NEWS.